Hey everybody, welcome back to another wonderful edition of Old History. You're going to like today's video. It's going to be part 3 in the Haunted History series that I've got going on for the whole month of October. The whole theme here is there's a whole lot of important graves, you know, just everywhere. There's probably one in every town at least. You know, just important people, somebody that done something significant. The goal here is to just make you think on that, what might be in your town. So before we begin, I'd like to remind everybody that I do in fact have a Patreon set up where if you want to donate to your favorite internet historian, you can. Not required to watch it all. There's some great events that are coming up between now and the end of the year. Now, of course, I recorded this in September, but it's to be released probably the 3rd week in October, something like that. So, I also like to give a shout out to both the Beard Guy, the East Tennessee Historical Society, and Lost Boys Recovery. They're great friends of mine, all of them. So, we're here today. This grave is extremely significant. I guess some people come up here. I had a field trip here in probably the 3rd grade, I believe, and they brought a bus all the way up here. Let's just pan the camera around. Somebody tell me who's there? No, I'm kidding. This is the grave of the 17th President of the United States, Andrew Johnson. His wife and a bunch of his kids. I don't think all of his family is buried here, but I think most of them. I think he had maybe like 1 or 2 sons that are buried somewhere else. I don't rightly know where. Just adjust the camera here. Right, there we go. So we'll just talk a little bit about what's going on here, and just look at that view, man. So, all right, the assassination of President Lincoln, presidency fell on an old-fashioned Southern Jacksonian Democrat who believed strongly in states' rights. He was an honest and honorable man, to say the least. Andrew Johnson was one of the most unfortunate presidents, because he was arrayed against him was the radical Republicans in Congress and their ruthless tactics. He really wasn't much of a match for him. He also had to deal with Reconstruction and things of that nature. They really took a toll, because the Civil War really took a toll on the economy of both the South and the North, because the war was extremely expensive. You had things like bridge burners, people going around. In the last video we talked about the bushwhackers at the grave of Lazarus Spears. The bushwhackers, you know, they done a lot of damage to everywhere, and it wasn't just pro-Confederate or pro-Union, you know. But anyway, back to President Johnson here. He was born in Raleigh, North Carolina. He grew up in poverty, excuse me, but was an apprenticed tailor in his young days. But he ran away and opened a tailor shop in a little place called Greeneville, Tennessee. He married Eliza McCardle and participated in debates at the local academy. Entering politics, he became an adept stump speaker, championing the common man and vilifying the plantation aristocracy. As a member of the House of Representatives and in the Senate in the 1840s and 50s, he advocated a homestead bill to provide a free farm for the poor man. During the secession crisis, Johnson remained in the Senate even when Tennessee seceded, which made him a hero in the North and a traitor in the eyes of most Southerners. In 1862, President Lincoln appointed him military governor of Tennessee, and Johnson used the state as a laboratory for Reconstruction in 1864. The Republicans, contending that their National Union Party was for all loyal men, nominated Johnson, a Southerner and a Democrat, for vice president. In March of 1867, the Radicals effected their own plan of Reconstruction, again placing Southern states under military rule. They passed laws placing restrictions on the president. So when Johnson allegedly violated one of these, which was called the Tenure of Office Act, he dismissed the Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, and the House would go on to vote 11 articles of impeachment against him. He was tried by the Senate in the spring of 1868 and was acquitted by one vote. And he would die in 1875. So this place here, because his home place is just right up the road, in the Civil War, this was called Signal Hill. But just let's talk about why he's up here in the first place, because I mean, look at this view. Way over there somewhere is North Carolina. So anyway, land that comprises the Andrew Johnson National Cemetery was bought by him in 1852, and according to family tradition, he enjoyed coming up to this spot for peace and meditation, probably to gather his thoughts before going on to a debate or before signing a bill. Because it also could afford some pretty amazing views of the mountain. Because there wasn't any houses over that area, or at least not that you could see at that time. Because of its height, you know, you have a pretty commanding view of just about everywhere in town, and then some. That way you could have seen the enemy coming. And that's when it was known as Signal Hill. Now it is known as Monument Hill. It was his request that he be buried here, and he was on the 3rd of August, 1875, and at the crest of the hill, the Masons carried out the rites of burial. So, in the inner circle here, that must be his immediate family, and I'm guessing some of these might be cousins or, you know, like an aunt and uncle or something like that. I don't know exactly. If somebody knows, please comment below. You know, I'm not a smarty pants. I don't know it all. I just like to bring the videos to attention. So before we drop out and move on to the next place, I'd like to remind everybody that some of this stuff isn't taught in schools. So if you're a teacher or an educator, you know, you might understand that there are curriculums that everybody has to follow. Just consider, you know, spreading the information to the children, because some of this stuff is, if it's taught, it's watered down pretty heavily. When I was in school, stuff about the Civil War and the Trail of Tears was watered down, but, you know, because of obvious reasons. Some stuff doesn't need to be told, at least not at that age. All history needs to be taught, but it just depends. But at that rate, just keep in mind, you know, history's sometimes it offends people, and people don't want to learn about it because sometimes history's not nice, you know. And that's what the goal of this whole old history is about, you know, spreading the information about just what's out there. Some stuff people don't actually know. So, and I have a bunch of accounts that can support that. So we'll cut the video off here. Everybody has a great rest of the weekend. Stay safe out there.